Hello everyone, and welcome to another Quad Education Test Prep Fundamentals video. My name is Tom, and today we're talking about a reading question type that people tend to really dislike. They look at them and go, oh man, that's a ton of reading, that's really no fun at all. But just like all the other topics that I've said that people tend to dislike, there's a way to do these that actually makes them pretty reasonable. In fact, if you do these the right way, you'll actually tend to seek these out and do them before some of the other more genuinely difficult questions on the SAT reading section. We're talking today about the paired evidence question types. So let's take a look. Okay, evidence pairs. Why do people hate these so much? Well, probably because it's a 2-for-1. The first question is the traditional specific detail question, and the second one is just a bunch of suggested evidence to justify the first question. And people think if you get one wrong, you usually get the other one wrong. Well, at least that's what people expect. I don't know offhand the correlation coefficient between getting one right and the other, but I bet it's lower than you'd expect. So people don't like them for that reason. And I think they also don't like them because they look like they involve a lot of reading. And that brings me to the wrong way to do these questions. I think people just tend to power through these reading passages with no real prep and without knowing or looking at what questions are coming. And that's very much the opposite of what I would recommend, by the way. And the issue with doing it this way is you don't know that these evidence pairs are even coming up at all, especially if they're straddling a page break. So one is on one page and the next is on the following page, so you can't see it just one after the other. So here's how I think people are doing these the wrong way. What they'll do is they'll put in a ton of effort to finding some good evidence for the first part. So they'll just take that specific detail question and just go look in the entire passage and try to find some evidence for it. And then they get to the second part and go, oh no, not more evidence. And a lot of the time, the evidence they found in the first part might actually apparently contradict the evidence included in the question, because with these evidence pairs, they're trying to be really specific with what the question is and the evidence that they're providing for it. So then what's the right way to do it? Well, as I've written here, what you want to do is ask the question of the evidence. What this means is that we take the question in the first part, whatever that is, and read each of the evidence extracts provided, and we see if that particular piece of evidence answers the question or not. So we would take whatever the question was, question X, and then apply it to each of these lines of evidence and say, okay, I'm reading this question. Is the evidence provided relevant? And if it is, we say, okay, maybe it's the right one. And if it's not, we would just get rid of it. And so we read each piece of evidence and see, is this on topic? Is this apropos to the question they're actually asking? And so if you're wondering, yes, I don't want you to look at the answers for that first part question at all yet. I cannot tell you how many times I've been working with a student on a question like this, and they'll try to jump the gun from the evidence to the answer part. And I always say the same thing, hold on. I don't know what you're talking about with these answers. We haven't got there yet. I don't care about that until we've got some good evidence. And if you hold yourself to that process, you're much less likely to get lost in what is evidence and what is not. And so not until you've got a hold of what pieces, and hopefully a single piece, in fact, of evidence applies to the question, then and only then can you start filtering the evidence that's relevant to the first part question through the answers provided. Okay, that's a whole lot of theory and talking. So let's do a little bit of practice now so I can show you what I mean. Okay, so take a few minutes here and see if you can't solve these two questions associated with this passage. All right, let's take a look. So I am not going to read this gigantic text box. I am just going to read the evidence associated with the question. And the question is, which choice does the author explicitly cite as an advantage of automobile travel in North America? So explicitly is going to be a really important term there. And what we're looking for is then an advantage of automobile travel in North America. So we have 5 through 9 in automobile. So we go here and see, in other words, traveling to work, school, or the market means being a strap hanger. Somebody who, by choice of necessity, relies on public transport rather than a privately owned automobile. So that doesn't tell us anything about an advantage of North American travel. Next, we have and car 20 to 24. So, and yet public transportation in many minds is the opposite of glamour, a squalid last resort for those with 1 too many impaired driving charges, 2 poor to afford insurance, or 2 decrepit to get behind the wheel of a car. So that's telling us something about public transportation, but nothing about North America. So we're going to say no to that one. And 24 to 26, in experience, in much of North America, they are right. Taking transit is a depressing experience. So you may be tempted to pick this one, but this isn't an advantage. It's maybe that you could make an argument for implicit advantage, but remember, if you're ever doing any kind of implication, it's wrong. You're always going to be exactly this or exactly that. And also it says explicit, which is the opposite of implicit. Okay, then looking at our last piece of evidence, hopping quickly. So 32 to 34. Hopping in a car almost always gets you to your destination more quickly. So I would say, okay, well that's an advantage. It's quicker, right? And so out of everything we've seen, that's really the only one that is an advantage and not just a disadvantage or just sort of a dig against public transport. And so we look at our options there. Environmental impact, it's not quick. Convenience, you could make an argument, but trying to make an argument means you're wrong. Speed is quickness, that's the same thing. And then cost is not quickness, so we're left with C there. So hopefully this illustrates how this works. You're trying to be very specific with how you're applying your evidence with these evidence pair questions. Okay, that's it for this video. So there are 2 of these evidence pair questions per passage and 5 passages per test, which means that there are around 20 of these evidence pair questions in every reading section, and that is a lot. That means that your performance on these evidence pairs will absolutely dictate your performance on the entire reading test. Now, if you commit to this process, that's really a good thing, because not only will you be able to get these done pretty quickly, but they will also aid in your understanding of each passage more quickly than if you were doing them the wrong way. If you found this material useful, we hope that you will like and share the video and subscribe to Quad Education. If you require additional instruction, please reach out to us for tutoring. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.